Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and today I'm looking at a book from Routledge which I think will be of very great interest to people doing the LLB, the LLM and also professional examinations. It's a book written by a person who tutored me many moons ago on the bar course at the Inns of Court School of Law. It's Peter Hungerford-Welch, and this is his book. It's now in an 8th edition. It's called Criminal Procedure and Sentencing. And it's basically all his notes put together in the form of a book. That's the back of the book, which gives you some idea of the spine, gives you some idea of what's in it. There is the companion website, which goes with this. Let me show you the book first of all. Good index at the back. And it's become a standard work, of course. This, what you do have, nice bit of paragraph numbering, which you can see at the sides there, so you can find things pretty quickly. There are no footnotes as such, but you've got a lot of the paragraph numbering. You've got a very great deal of information. For instance, that's on indictments. It's all about criminal procedure, so it's very much a part of the bar course itself. At the front, there for the 8th edition is the first page. Then you've got the contents section there, which is quite a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go through. There are 15 main chapters. Now, Peter has produced a preface which is worth reading just to get an idea of what he's included and why he's written and updated this, and the table of cases which you've got, plus statutes, which I'm going through there, statutory instruments, European legislation. Then we have a list of abbreviations, only a few for this area, fortunately. Then you've got the way it's structured. You start off with preliminaries, chapter 1. What you've got is an index, so it shows you how he's going to go through the subject material, and he starts off straight away with the structure of the criminal courts. And then there are all sorts of things which are great. There are a number of books which I certainly use for the bar exams, and obviously when I taught the subject some years afterwards, but it's many years since I did them, and I think this is kept up to date both for people in the profession who are still in practice today, who may want a quick refresher on some areas of what is happening, both in terms of the criminal procedure itself, because a lot of changes have taken place more recently, and of course you've also got sentencing, which is very difficult in its own right. Obviously you've got specific areas in practice, but I think this is quite useful just to refresh your memory if you need to do that. Anyway, what my wife Elizabeth and I have written here is, we've given it a title, An Accessible and Authoritative Guide to Each Step of Criminal Procedure with an Accompanying Website. I'm not going to say too much about the companion website because that links in and keeps you as up to date as it can do with the more modern learning techniques that we now have today. I didn't have them when I did this, and I would very much like to have had the web and all the other things that we now have. But in those days it was very much pre-computers effectively, and it was very much books. And in fact, when I was teaching at Birkbeck, it was chalk on the board. So that gives you an idea of how things have changed over the years. This is what we say anyway, as a work of reference and a practical, readable guide. This book is brilliant for anyone involved professionally in any aspect of the criminal justice process. Pupil barristers and trainee solicitors in particular, we think, will appreciate its clarity. Its fully fledged practitioners and legal executives as well will probably find it useful just as a primer, just to push us in the right direction if we may have just want to sort of sharpen our knowledge up. So we find it really more useful as an aide memoire, or even a refresher course if you've been out of the system for a little while. Perhaps, you know, if you're female barrister and you've had children, you may want to come back in and you'll see that there have been changes, or you've gone off and done a different type of work for a while. It's amazing how quickly you can get out of date, so it's quite useful to have this sort of top-notch stuff, which is obviously current editions and always being improved because of the new methods that we are using for learning outcomes. Now, you might say that the author, Peter Hungerford-Welch, is uniquely well qualified to create a legal text which is actually reader friendly. He's the Assistant Dean, I understand now, of professional programs at the City Law School and teaches what is now called the Bar Professional Training Course, formerly the BVC, at what was at the Inns of Court School of Law, which is now part of City Law School at City University London. It's all got rather complicated, but that's because of the change in the way in which the bar course is now being administered in different locations. But he certainly is one of the main experts, and I say that because obviously he taught me, so I'm well aware of the expertise he has. So really, if you haven't followed all that, acquiring this book is something like having the advice and counsel of a leading authority on the criminal justice system readily to hand whenever you need it to look something up. And I certainly think that that is helpful in the criminal jurisdiction. The fact is that this is now in an 8th edition, and it attests to its authority and value, and it keeps growing in size, or at least it did keep growing in size with each successive edition. But the author says this latest edition has gone through a rigorous exercise program. It's now rather slimmer as a result, which is interesting because of the civil procedure rule, or rather the criminal procedure rules, and of course all the rows that we've been having about sentencing. However, he seems to have honed it down, and thank you very much, because we're going to lug some pretty heavy books around with us sometimes. So it's nice to know that this is a bit slimmer. Now there's a triumph for you, as I say, if there's ever was going to be one, in the fight against excessive verbiage in law books. Now this is published by ROUTLEDGE, as I've indicated, in a new streamlined edition, and is actually nevertheless very comprehensive. It covers all aspects of the criminal justice system and sentencing, and incorporates all the significant developments that have taken place since the publication of the previous edition in 2008, particularly the funding of legal aid. And we know what has happened between 2010 and the end of 2014 when I'm recording this. We've seen the LASPO legislation, and we've seen the big cuts taking effect, so that the legal aid budget now is down to $1.5 billion. Obviously it's important to know about that because of the implications for what we're doing. Recent case law and recent key Court of Appeal decisions are included in this book, which I think is very good, very helpful, together with amendments to the criminal procedure rules, as well as the Sentencing and Punishment of Offenders Act 2012. And of course there's a lot more besides. It's combining a lucid and fluent writing style throughout with a practical approach, which I like, and the book, along with its supporting website and links, functions, we feel, as a practical tool for study and for reference. There are extensive tables of cases, which I've indicated at the front, statutes, statutory instruments and European legislation, plus a very helpful glossary, abbreviations and so forth, to suggest for further reading at the end of each chapter. To aid navigation, there's a detailed table of contents and an index of about 20 pages at the back. For lawyers, budding lawyers, and indeed anyone interested in enhancing their understanding of the criminal justice system, this book should be considered an essential purchase. The publication date is 2014. Now I must confess that I actually used some other books when I did the bar course, but I didn't really have this at the time, although I suspect I had much with the work that I actually and the lectures I attended. I think from Mr. Hungerford-Welch I probably got quite a bit of his original notes. But you can see with this, just going back, this is summary trial case management, just opening it anyway. You see it gives you a wealth of detail, and it sets it out fairly well so that you can see where you are, and I think it will help you with the MCTs that you've got to do if you're doing the bar exams. I imagine they're still doing that particular approach. Unfortunately, I didn't really approve of it myself, but however, you've got appeals, which are rather good, just changing the subject rapidly. And as I say, right at the back you can see the index, so I'll just point that out again. There's the index there, and if I can just show you some of the summaries that we've got right at the end, I'll just find that for you. Here we go. This is just towards the end, pre-sentence reports we've got. This is the end of the trial itself. Then you've got sentencing, deferring sentence, and so on. And as I say, you've got very useful, as I've indicated before, for each chapter, a nice index at the front. So you should be able to navigate pretty well with this, and I think because it's now in an 8th edition, you will see that it has been very successful as a book, and I think it's a great aid for anybody who is now intending to read for the bar and to eventually get into practice. It's a really tough existence these days, and I'm very grateful to Peter and all the other people for producing these excellent books. Thank you to Routledge as well, and thank you for the companion website, which is very, very helpful. All the very best. Good luck with your exams as well. Bye bye.